ప్రెసిడెంట్ గారు.
సార్ చెప్పండి.
ఎస్ సార్.
అందరికీ నమస్కారం. ముఖ్యంగా కాకినాడ బార్ అసోసియేషన్ తరఫున ప్రతి శుక్రవారం ఎవ్రీ ఫ్రైడే ఈ ప్రోగ్రామ్ అరేంజ్ చేసిన మా రామారెడ్డి గారికి, అడ్వకేట్ మా రామారెడ్డి గారికి నాకన్నా చిన్నవాళ్ళు నమస్కారం పెట్టకూడదు, దీవిస్తున్నాను. నిండా నూరేళ్ళు ఆయుష్ తోటి, ఇటువంటి ఆయుష్ ఆరోగ్యం ఐశ్వర్యంతో ఉండాలని. ఎందుకంటే మాకు కూడా రాని థాట్ ఆయనకు వచ్చి ఆయన ఈ ప్రోగ్రామ్ అరేంజ్ చేశారు. ఆయన ఫస్ట్ లో ప్రోగ్రామ్ పెట్టినప్పుడు కొంతమంది ఏమిటో అనుకున్నారు, కానీ ఈ కరోనా టైంలో రమారమి ఆల్మోస్ట్ 1.5 year నుంచి, అంటే ఫిబ్రవరి 2020 నుంచి కోర్టు ఫంక్షనింగ్ లేదు. మధ్యలో నెల 15 రోజులు ఫంక్షన్ అయినా కూడా ఓన్లీ నామినల్ ఏదో కాలు వర్క్ చేయడం, దిగిపోవడం, భయంగా వెళ్ళటం, భయంగా వచ్చేయటం అది జరిగింది. ఈ రామారెడ్డి గారు ఎంతో ప్రయాసతోటి ఈ ప్రోగ్రామ్ అరేంజ్ చేశారు. ఈయన అందరినీ కలుసుకుని చెప్పి అప్రైజ్ చేసి ఇట్లా ఇదని. ఎందుకంటే ఏంటంటే ఈ ప్రెస్లో ఈ ప్రోగ్రామ్ కూడా డబ్బు ఖర్చు అవుతుంది, అది కూడా ఆయన పాకెట్ లోంచి పెట్టుకుని, ఎందుకంటే నెట్వర్క్ వాళ్ళకి పే చేయాలి, అది కూడా ఆయన జోబులో పెట్టుకుని చేస్తున్నారు. అంచేత ఆయన దీర్ఘాయుష్మాన్ బా, ఎటువంటి మంచి ప్రోగ్రామ్, ఎంతో మంది ఎడ్యుకేట్ అవుతున్నారు.
మా సుబ్రహ్మణ్యం గారు, జిఎస్ఎం గారు తోడ్పాటు ఉంది సార్.
అయితే అలాగే అదే నేను చెప్తున్నాను. ఈయనతో పాటు మా జూనియర్ గండి సుబ్రహ్మణ్యం గారు, ఆయన కూడా మహానుభావుడు. అంటే చాలా చిన్న వయసులో వీళ్ళకి చాలా మంచి థాట్ వచ్చింది. చిన్న వయసులో ఇద్దరు కలిసి ప్రోగ్రామ్ సెట్ చేయటం, నా బోటుడు మీ బోటుల దగ్గరికి వచ్చి చెప్పిన తర్వాత ఏదో చెప్తున్నారులే, ఈ మొగం మీద కాదంటే బాగోదు కానివ్వండి అన్నాం.
ప్రెసిడెంట్ గారు. సార్ ప్రెసిడెంట్ గారు డిస్కనెక్ట్ అయింది సార్. సార్ నారా శ్రీనివాస్ గారు ప్లీజ్ సార్.
ముఖ్యంగా అందరికీ ధన్యవాదాలు. మన ఈ ఫ్రైడే మీట్ రామారెడ్డి గారు, అదేవిధంగా సుబ్రహ్మణ్యం గారు, వీళ్ళిద్దరూ చక్కని చొరవతోటి మన రాష్ట్రంలోనే ఒక ప్రయోగాత్మకంగా ప్రతి వారం క్రమం తప్పకుండా ఈ ఫ్రైడే మీట్ నిర్వహించడం, ముఖ్యంగా ఆల్ ఇండియా లాయర్స్ యూనియన్ ఆంధ్రప్రదేశ్ కమిటీ తరపు నుంచి ప్రత్యేకంగా అభినందనలు తెలియజేస్తా ఉన్నాం. ఎందుకంటే మనకు తెలుసు, ప్రోగ్రామ్ ని మనం నిర్వహించాలంటే చాలా వ్యయ ప్రయాసం, అందులో ఈ టెక్నికల్ ఇష్యూస్, అదేవిధంగా స్పీకర్స్ మాట్లాడటం, అదేవిధంగా అందరికీ దీన్ని ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ పాస్ చేయడం, ఇదంతా కూడా చాలా ఇబ్బందికరమైనటువంటి పరిస్థితి. ఇప్పుడు మనం అందులో ఈ కరోనా, ఈ లాక్డౌన్ ఇంపోజిషన్, అదేవిధంగా ఈ కండిషన్ రిలాక్సేషన్ దశలో ఉన్నాం. కాబట్టి ఇంత శ్రమకు వచ్చి నిర్వహిస్తున్న నిర్వాహకులకి ఆల్ ఇండియా లాయర్స్ యూనియన్ రాష్ట్ర కమిటీ తరఫున ప్రత్యేక ధన్యవాదాలు. ముఖ్యంగా ఈరోజు స్పీకర్ వెంకటరావు గారు చాలా ఎకడమిక్ లెవెల్లో, ముఖ్యంగా లా ఫ్యాకల్టీకి సంబంధించి లా ఎకడమిక్ లో దేశంలోనే పేరెన్నికైనటువంటి సారు. మేము చాలా సందర్భాల్లో సార్ యొక్క పేరుని వినటం జరిగింది, అకాడమిక్ సర్కిల్లోనే, అదేవిధంగా స్టూడెంట్ సర్కిల్లోను. అదేవిధంగా నేషనల్ లా యూనివర్సిటీస్ ని ఎస్టాబ్లిష్ చేసి, గతంలో ట్రెడిషనల్ లా కాలేజీలు ఉండే సందర్భంలో నేషనల్ లా స్కూల్స్ ని ఎస్టాబ్లిష్ చేసి ఒక రకంగా మన వృత్తిలో స్టాండర్డ్స్ ని పెంచేందుకోసం నేషనల్ లా స్కూల్స్ కూడా బాగా ఉపయోగపడతా ఉన్నాయి. నేను ఒక సందర్భంలో ఈ అకాడమిక్ లెవెల్లో ఈ లా డిగ్రీ చదువుతా ఉన్నప్పుడు ఆచార్య నాగార్జున యూనివర్సిటీ క్యాంపస్ నుంచి ఆల్ ఇండియా మూట్ కోర్ట్స్ కి 5 times వెళ్ళటం జరిగింది. చూసినప్పుడు కొన్ని సందర్భాల్లో వాళ్ళ యొక్క స్టాండర్డ్స్ చూసి మాకే చాలా ఆశ్చర్యం వేసేది. అసలు ఇంత స్టాండర్డ్స్ తోటి వీళ్ళు ఇంత థాట్ ప్రొవోకింగ్ తోటి, ఇంత లాజికల్ థింకింగ్ తోటి, ఇంత సబ్జెక్ట్ తోటి ఎలా వస్తున్నారు అనేటువంటిది. దానికి కారణం సార్ లాంటి, వెంకటరావు గారు లాంటి అకాడమిషియన్స్ ఎంతో ఎఫర్ట్ ఉంది. వారి ఎఫర్ట్ ఫలితంగానే స్టూడెంట్స్ కి అంత కెపబిలిటీ. అదేవిధంగా మనకి ఇప్పుడు చూసుకున్నట్లయితే ఈ ప్రొఫెషనల్ సర్కిల్లో కూడా కింది స్థాయి కాలేజీలో అంటే రెగ్యులర్ కాలేజీలో కూడా ఇటువంటి అకాడమిక్ స్టాండర్డ్స్ ఉంటే ఖచ్చితంగా మనం ఈ న్యాయ విద్యలో మంచి మార్పులు, సమానమైనటువంటి మార్పుని దేశవ్యాప్తంగా తీసుకురాగలుగుతాం. అదేవిధంగా ఇంత ఎక్సలెన్స్ ఉన్నటువంటి స్టూడెంట్స్ తయారైతే లాయర్లుగా వీళ్ళు వస్తే అడ్మినిస్ట్రేషన్ ఆఫ్ జస్టిస్ లో, రూల్ ఆఫ్ లాలో మన దేశం మరింత ముందుకు వెళుతుంది, చాలా ప్రోగ్రెస్ ఉంటుంది. మనందరికీ తెలుసు ఈరోజు పాలకులు కనీసమైనటువంటి కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్ ప్రిన్సిపల్స్ ను ఫాలో కావట్లేదు. మినిమం ప్రాథమిక హక్కుల్ని, పౌరుల ప్రాథమిక హక్కులను కాపాడాలని లేదు. అధికారంకి వచ్చిన తర్వాత అడ్డగోలుగా వాటిని డిస్యూటిలైజ్ చేస్తా ఉన్నారు. అంటే ఈ నేపథ్యంలో మనం న్యాయ విద్యార్థులు, అదేవిధంగా లాయర్ల యొక్క ప్రాధాన్యత ఈ దేశంలోని, ఈ రాష్ట్రంలోని బాగా పెరిగింది. కాబట్టి సార్ లాంటి అకాడమిషియన్స్ యొక్క ఛాలెంజ్ ఉంది న్యాయవాదుల ముందు. ఎందుకంటే చాలా సందర్భాల్లో మనం బాజీ పడతా ఉంటాం. హై ఎథిక్స్ ని ఫాలో కావడం ద్వారా, మన ప్రొఫెషనల్ స్టాండర్డ్స్ ఇంప్రూవ్ చేసుకోవడం ద్వారా ఇన్కమ్ పెరుగుతుంది, మన వృత్తికి సరైనటువంటి గౌరవం, లెర్నడ్, నాట్ ఓన్లీ ఎర్నడ్ బట్ ఆల్సో లెర్నడ్ వృత్తిగా మనం ఉంటాం. అందుకని ఎథిక్స్ అనేటువంటిది మన వృత్తిలో చాలా కీలకమైనటువంటి అంశం. క్లయింట్ మనకి పర్సనల్ గా నమ్మి వస్తారు కాబట్టి క్లయింట్ కి న్యాయం చేయాలి. ఈ అంశం మీద ఈరోజు మనకి తన అపారమైనటువంటి అనుభవాన్ని షేర్ చేసుకోవడానికి అంగీకరించినటువంటి వెంకట్రావు గారికి ప్రత్యేకంగా ధన్యవాదాలు తెలియజేస్తూ, నాకు ఈ అవకాశం ఇచ్చినందుకు ధన్యవాదాలు తెలియజేస్తూ ముగిస్తాను.
థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్. సార్ ప్రెసిడెంట్ గారు ఇంటరాక్షన్ వచ్చింది సార్, తమరు కన్ఫ్యూజ్ చేయండి.
పర్లేదు. సేమ్ మా జూనియర్ బ్రంది సుబ్రహ్మణ్యం గారు కూడా ఈ ప్రోగ్రామ్ గురించి అంతా డిజైన్ చేసి ఆయన ఒక పక్కన డిస్ట్రిక్ట్ జడ్జి ఎగ్జామ్కి వెళ్తా కూడా ఈ ప్రోగ్రామ్ డిజైన్ చేసి టైం స్పెండ్ చేసి, టైం అండ్ మనీ కూడా. ఇప్పుడు ఈ జూనియర్ అడ్వకేట్స్ ఫైనాన్షియల్ స్టేటస్ ఏంటో, మన పొజిషన్ ఏంటో మన అందరికీ తెలుస్తున్నది, ముఖ్యంగా మా అందరికీ తెలుసు. అయినా కూడా వెరవకుండా ఈ ప్రోగ్రామ్ సెట్ చేశారు. సెట్ చేసి ఇదంతా చేసి కాకినాడ బార్ అసోసియేషన్ పేరున మొదలెట్టారు. దాన్ని బట్టి వాళ్ళకి అసోసియేషన్ మీద, ఈ వృత్తి మీద ఎంత గౌరవం ఉందో తెలుస్తుంది. చేత ఇటువంటి ఈ వెబినార్ కి ఇన్ ఫ్యూచర్ లో చాలా ఇంపార్టెన్స్ ఉంటుంది. చాలా ఇంపార్టెన్స్ చెప్తున్నాను. మనకు తెలియని ఎన్నో సంగతులు వివిధ యాక్ట్లో ఫేమస్ అయిన మన అడ్వకేట్స్ నుంచి సుమారు 3, 4, 5 మంత్స్ నుంచి వింటున్నాం. అంచేత ఇది ఈ మా రామారెడ్డి గారికి, మా జూనియర్ సుబ్రహ్మణ్యం గారికి ఇద్దరు కూడా మంచి భవిష్యత్తు ఉండాలని మనస్ఫూర్తిగా ఆశిస్తూ, మా కాకినాడ బార్ అసోసియేషన్కి ఇంత పేరు ప్రఖ్యాతులు తెచ్చిన వీళ్ళందరికీ కూడా నా హృదయపూర్వక ధన్యవాదాలు తెలియజేస్తున్నాను. థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్. థ్యాంక్ యూ.
సార్ వైఎన్ఆర్ గారు, సారీ సార్ లేట్ అయింది సార్. ఈ రోజు ఈ ప్రోగ్రామ్ మన వెంకట్రావు గారిని ఇంట్రడ్యూస్ చేస్తూ మనకి ఎంత చక్కని లెజెండరీ పర్సనాలిటీని మనకి ఇంట్రడ్యూస్ చేస్తున్న వైఎన్ఆర్ గారికి మా బార్ అసోసియేషన్ తరఫున ప్రత్యేక ధన్యవాదాలు. ఆయన మా బార్ సీనియర్ మెంబర్ అయినందుకు మేము గర్విస్తూ, స్పీకర్ గారి గురించి ఆయన ఇంట్రడక్షన్ ఇవ్వాల్సింది కోరుతున్నాను. శ్రీ వైఎన్ఆర్ గారు ప్లీజ్ సార్.
మాస్టర్ నమస్తే సార్. ముందుగా మాస్టర్
నమస్కారం. గురుగారు నమస్కారం.
నమస్తే. రెడీ గారు మొదలు పెడతామండి.
సార్ ప్లీజ్ సార్.
ముందుగా మా మాస్టర్కి నమస్కారం చెప్పి. నమస్తే సార్.
నమస్తే
సార్. Today, really, I am thankful to the Bar Association in Kakinada, because the bar now they are saying that to express thanks to me to introduce my master. But after a long gap, today the bar has given an opportunity to refresh my memories, to cherish myself with Professor R. Venkatrao garu by means of this small introduction. As a matter of fact, I am not competent. to expound and introduce such a legendary personality or the personality which is having an outstanding performance in the legal education. In whatever field, Dr. Rao has been there. He is second to none. He is the best, and he is considered to be the best, and he is the awardee of so many credentials which are prestigious. Now, before that, I may not forget, my association with Dr. Rao is during my studentship in 1978 in Andhra University. At that time, he was so friendly with us, and he was not having any inhibitions. And after a long time, when once I have seen the profile of Dr. Rao 2 years back, I have been very much surprised, and I felt that మనందరికీ అర్థమయ్యేలా ఒక్క ముక్క చెప్తాను. మాలాంటి వాళ్ళు ఎవ్వరూ పక్కన నిలబడలేనంత ఎత్తుకు ఎదిగినటువంటి మా మాస్టర్. Today we are having such a personality before us, and whatever the amount, I have already expressed my inability. Dr. Rao has been the chairperson in Vivekananda School of Law and Legal Studies at present, and prior to that has been the Vice Chancellor for successively 2 terms in National Law School of University at Bangalore. And thereafter, from August 2019, after having, I think in 2019, Justice Rao has located to Delhi, to Vivekananda Law Institute. As a matter of academic qualifications, Dr. Rao had ML and PhD, LLD honors, and he was the awardee of Professor N. Madhav Menon Best Law Teacher Award for the year 2018. To date, he has 42 years of teaching and research experience. He has served for 31 years in Andhra University in various fields of law department, either as a dean or as a principal or as the head of the Department of Law, principal of Arts, Commerce and Law Union in Andhra University. So the director of Central Criminal Justice, Andhra University from 1997 to 2009. He served as the Dean of Students Affairs, Andhra University, and as the Officer for Special Duty, Andhra University. Dr. Rao also served as the member of Executive Council of Andhra Institute from 2005 to 2007. At present, we are proud to appreciate, and we are also proud to say Dr. Rao is having the membership in so many councils. The General Council, National Law at Jodhpur, Vice President of the Executive Council of General Council, West Bengal, member of Planning Board, National Law University, Delhi, General Council of Rajiv Gandhi National Institute of Law, Academic Council, National Law University, Odisha, Academic Council, Karnataka State Law University, Hubli, Academic Council and the General Council, National Law University of British Academy, Advisory Board, Institute of Genetic Awareness, Applied Research, NOVA, Southeastern University in USA, member, Board of Governors, Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs, New Delhi, member, Legal Education Committee, Standing Committee, Academic Committee, Bar Council of India, member, General Council of Vivekananda Institute of Professional Studies, New Delhi, member, Advisory Board, Shiksha O Anusandhan at Bhubaneswar, member, Board of Studies in Law, Bhubaneswar, member, Board of Studies in Law, Andhra University, Visakhapatnam, member, Board of Studies in Law, Koner Lakshmaya University at Guntur, member, Academic Council, University of Chennai, chairman, AHPI, Patients Grievance Redressal Forum, member, Doctoral Postdoctoral Council, MNLU, Aurangabad, member, Academic Planning Board, National Law University, and Judicial Academy. I further to state, as a matter of introduction, how a luminous personality before us is the Vice President of Indian Society of International Law, New Delhi, member, Academic Committee of Indian Institute of Public Administration, New Delhi, member, Council of Indian Institute of Sciences, Bangalore, member, Academic Council and General Council of Nalsar, Hyderabad, member, Executive Council, Dr. Damodaran Sanjeevaya, National University, Visakhapatnam, member, Governing Council, Indian Law Institute, member, Executive Council, National Law University, Delhi, member, Academic Council and Executive Council, Maharashtra, National Law University, Nagpur. Dr. Rao has the distinction of receiving gold medal for the best PhD thesis from Andhra University in 1993, the best researchers award from Andhra University in 2003. He got the best teachers award from the government of Andhra Pradesh in 2006. He has been awarded the best Vice Chancellor award for outstanding contribution of education during the World Vice Chancellors Conference held at Mumbai. Amity University, Noida awarded Amity Academic Excellence Award twice for the most distinguished contributions towards the propagation of doctrine of knowledge by Dr. Rao. Has been awarded Professor N.R. Madhamenan Best Law Teacher Award for the year 2018 under the aegis of Society of Indian Law and the Menon Institute of Legal Advocacy Training for outstanding services to the promotion of quality of legal education. Dr. Rao has been awarded Attorney General K. Parasaran Award for outstanding scholarship in legal education in July 2019 by Capital Society of New Delhi. On the occasion of 60th Society of International Law, Lifetime Achievement Award has been given for the significant field contribution to the field of international law, which was conferred to him in 2020. These are the much credentials for purpose of our introduction have been given with reference to our teacher, Dr. Rao, and further has been the author and co-author of so many books, publications, and has delivered so many endowment lectures, and he always has been the best in every field in the field. So far, more particularly with reference to the legal education and also with reference to the advocacy, he is the person of having eminent knowledge and distinguished personality, and he is the manifestation of the very legal education itself. In fact, as a matter of fact, I did not give so much of information with reference to it as a matter of introduction only, because confining myself and confining to the restraint and without deviating from the courtesy of dais, I have introduced today's speaker, Dr. Rao, and we are very happy, and we also can feel proud of it to hear the lecture of Dr. Rao. Before that, what is the relevance of introducing this topic in the series of Friday lectures? I want to make a few lines of statement without deviating the courtesies and without transgressing the privilege of today's distinguished speaker on the topic. I don't touch the topic, but I want to say one thing. In fact, I want to appreciate the moderators, organizers to introduce this topic today, because two wings of advocates today we are seeing. One set of advocates are casually practicing without commitment, and they are going and deviating from the line of profession also. Another set of advocates are making a mark of distinguished abilities. We all belong to noble profession and we are the members of it. not merely the members of it, we are the honorable members of it. To make an entry into the profession, a simple technical compliance is sufficient as a matter of qualification. But to acquire the honor, we have to maintain the dignity, commitment, spirit, and the quality which we have to day improve, because it is always a continuing intellectual entrepreneur. Jeremy Bentham said that the ability or the capacity of a lawyer lies in the uncertainty of law. I am not making comment in depth on the academic aspect, but what I personally feel is, from this statement, we have to develop the quality. We have to develop the quality, and the uncertainty of law always gives an opportunity to the advocate to increase his argument power. Matter of interpretation, explanation, expounding, without crossing the limit, for which we have to know the language and we have to use the appropriate vocabulary. This is much needed. And another side, the same author, the Jeremy Bentham, who is the social thinker and an eminent jurist of 19th century, he also says that lawyers are the only person in whom the ignorance of law is not punished. What is the effect of this statement? Sometimes we are coming across the judgments of High Court and Supreme Court to the effect that the lawyers are not amenable to the jurisdiction of consumer forum. And the service rendered by the lawyers is not the deficiency of service towards the client, it is only a simple practice and a learning profession. We are feeling very happy. Nobody is there to punish us. And we are seeing some judgments also that no advocate will give guarantee to the judgment, and therefore an advocate shall not be prosecuted. But day to day, we are being accused, we are being excused, and sometimes, more often than not, we are being prosecuted and punished also. And number of cases before the CBI courts with reference to the institutional advocates we are seeing. Now, I want to make one point before closing my introductory address, because I have already stated that I don't touch the subject because our speaker is there. A lawyer is always liable to be quadruple punishment or double the punishment sometimes. If an ordinary person commits a mistake, he is simply punished. But if the lawyer commits a mistake, we have to ignore the statement of Bentham here. Nowadays, a lawyer is not left without any punishment. I have come across one defamation case where an advocate addressed during the cross-examination towards the client and also against the judge certain defamatory statements. Then he had to face the litigation before the court that the client has filed a defamatory suit, and he also initiated criminal proceedings because defamation is not only civil wrong but also criminal wrong. The judge has initiated contempt proceedings while referring matter to the Bar Council. The Bar Council has initiated disciplinary action. Then the delinquent advocate has strenuously argued before the higher authorities and the High Court that it amounts to double jeopardy and he shall not be prosecuted for more than one action. But the court did not agree. Double jeopardy is the rule where one authority cannot twice punish. But here there is a distinct officers and distinct authorities and different punishments which have been imposed. Therefore, we always must know ourselves that our responsibility to the citizen is more and more. So many latches have been pointed out by the Supreme Court way back in 1995, right from the initiation of the suit till the trial. We must be aware of law. At the same time, we must beware of the abuse of process of law also. Ultimately, what the Supreme Court said, that the advocates are to introspect themselves to correct the mistakes, omissions, and commissions. So today, I feel that this is an introspective sessions for which we can set the means and ways, and we find out the measure of correction from the lecture of Dr. Rao. And now I invite all my friends to the attention, and I request Dr. Rao to address. Friends, please listen to Dr. Rao.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, sir.
That's good.
Yes, yes,
So-
sir, Adu.
So, both the sound and light are effective. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
So, let me first tell Sabha Saraswati Namaskaram. Okay. And,
Namaskaram.
now, I'll switch over to English. Okay. Distinguished President and the other office bearers of Kakinada Bar Association,
Sound అయితే full గానే ఉంది.
senior advocate, my former student, Nageshwara Ji, and distinguished members of the bar, and finally, I would say, fellow students. You may be wondering as to why I'm saying fellow students. I'll come to that later. Okay. I'll start on a lighter note because Nageshwara has given such a flattering introduction about me. I was reminded of Lord Denning's statement, who said, sometimes lawyers are virtuous and they have a notorious reputation. The notoriety arising from the fact that when the case is weak, they give a long introduction. When the case is strong, they just get up and say, Your Honor or my Lord, the facts speak for themselves. Maybe Mr. Nageshwara has given such a long introduction about me, maybe because the case is not very formidable. So don't have high expectations about that. And first, let me express my grateful thanks to Kakinada Bar Association, because if I am what I am today, it is because of the symbiotic relationship I had with Andhra University in general and advocates coming from Kakinada and East Godavari in particular. Because I taught in Andhra University for more than 36 years. And for 36 batches, I have seen good number of students passing out from Kakinada who later embellished the Kakinada Bar, and my relationship with them was a symbiotic relationship. If I am what I am today, it is because I have learned many things from them. And therefore, first let me express my grateful thanks to Kakinada Bar Association for giving me this opportunity. I have deliberately chosen the topic, the importance of ethics. And I did not say importance of ethics in legal profession. Though I'll be starting with legal profession, I'll go to general aspects of ethics and examine as to how ethics are very important, crucial to us. First, let me speak to you about the greatness of legal profession. Nageshwara Ji was referring to the nobility of legal profession. You know, my friends, 3 professions were known as noble professions. Teaching profession was not among them originally. The first 3 professions that were known as noble professions were medical profession, legal profession, and the profession of a religious preacher or a clergyman, because those days church was the most powerful institution. Why these three professions were called noble professions, I will just explain to you in 1 minute. Now, who will go to a doctor? As long as our temperature is 98.4 degrees, we think that we are the most handsome persons on the planet and we are the most healthy persons. We do not care anyone. But the moment the little finger starts giving trouble, we go to a doctor. That means when you have a symptom of malfunctioning in the body, you go to a doctor. And therefore, the doctor should not take advantage of the malfunctioning in your body, but an extra noble quality must come from his heart to serve you, to treat you, because you had a misfortune. Okay. Likewise, who will go to a lawyer? Normally, my professional teacher used to say there are three places where nobody would like to go, but everyone would be compelled to go. The first place is a hospital. The second place is a graveyard. The third place is a court of law and a lawyer's office. Now, unless some calamity strikes you, unless there is some misfortune, you will not be going to an advocate. So when a misfortune strikes you, and when you go to an advocate, the advocate is supposed to bring out extra noble qualities. That's the reason why legal profession is called a noble profession. The third profession is that of a religious preacher or a clergyman. Who will go to a clergyman? Only when you think that, remember, some calamity has struck you and there is some misfortune to you. You go to a preacher and request a preacher to pray on your behalf. Therefore, these three professions are called noble professions because they require an element of extra nobility from the person planning it. And we belong to that noble profession called legal profession. And also remember, legal profession is the only profession to find a place in the Constitution of India. Look at the 395 articles and 12 schedules. You don't find mention of a medical profession. You don't find mention of engineering profession. You don't find mention of doctors. You don't find mention of politicians. But when you go to Article 22, Clause 1, to be defended by a legal practitioner of your choice, that means our legal profession is a constitutionally ordained profession. And in fact, lawyers provided the front arm of the freedom movement when India was fighting for liberation from the colonial yoke. And in the Constituent Assembly, more than 2/3 of the members were lawyers. Therefore, ours is a constitutionally ordained profession. And the preambular aspirations mentioned in the Constitution must be your constant companion. And they must be a part of your body, like justice, social, economic, and political, liberty of expression, faith, thought, belief, and worship, equality of status and opportunity, and fraternity, and assuring the dignity of the individual. Therefore, the Constitution of India must be at the back of your mind and must be at the center of your heart, whatever you do. The third important point is, remember, when you go to the Supreme Court of India, in fact, when I have asked young advocates, what do you find at the entrance of Supreme Court? Most of the law students and most of the young advocates, they always mistake and say, sir, the words at the entrance of Supreme Court would be Satyameva Jayate. Okay, no. The words at the entrance of Supreme Court are Yatho Dharmaha Tatho Jayaha. Please remember that. These are the words that are inscribed at the entrance of the Supreme Court. And you know who has uttered these words? You'll be surprised that an extraordinary female character in Mahabharata has uttered these words. A character who was the epitome of sacrifice. And when I say an extraordinary female character, most of us jump to the conclusion that it must be Draupadi. No. The character who uttered these words was Gandhari. Why I'm saying that she's an extraordinary character is Gandhari had the vision given by God. But when her spouse had the congenital blindness, okay, she closed her eyes throughout her life. Can you close your eyes for just 2 minutes? And she was an extraordinary mother. And such character called Gandhari, when Kurukshetra battle was about to begin, the most loved son Duryodhan goes to her and says, Mother, you are a Pativrata and you are very powerful. Whatever you would say would come true. Therefore, bless me that we will be victorious in Kurukshetra battle, which is about to begin tomorrow. You know, Gandhari was a mother. And Rabindranath Tagore said, God created mother maybe because he cannot be present everywhere. And that mother loved her son so much. Almost all of you know that in Mahabharata epic, Gandhari wanted Duryodhana to live forever. Therefore, she wanted to anoint him, ask her son to come naked. But little Krishna mischievously says something like puppy shame, and therefore he covers his private parts, and that becomes his Achilles heel. And that mother who wanted her son to live forever, and when Duryodhana wanted Gandhari to bless her, that he would be victorious, Gandhari knows what is going to happen. She did not say, son, you would be victorious. But she said, son, yatho dharmaha tato jayaha. That means if dharma is on your side, victory will be on your side. And that inscription has been laid at the entrance of the Supreme Court of India. And remember, we are all the guardians. We have to protect that. Therefore, these three things, number one, legal profession is a noble profession, number one. Number two, it is constitutionally ordained profession, mentioned in the Constitution of India. And number three, the words, yato dharmaha tato jayaha. Therefore, that makes our responsibility more onerous. And therefore, I thought a topic like ethics would be in the fitness of things, serve the purpose. And as Mr. Nageswara has said, there are some advocates who practice casual. Okay. And as a result of which today, there is a crisis of confidence in the institutions. And we have established institutions like the courts of law to settle disputes peacefully. And please remember, when there is a dispute has to be settled. The only question is, how are you going to settle it? Are you going to settle it peacefully or otherwise? Justice Krishna in one of his judgments says, if peaceful settlement becomes impossible, violent settlement will become inevitable. Therefore, we have adopted a mechanism to settle disputes peacefully, and we have established the courts. And in those institutions, people are losing confidence. Why people are losing confidence? Because of the dramatist persona associated with these institutions. Therefore, ask for ourselves. Make an introspection, as Mr. Nageswara said, and try not to bring down the esteem or the reputation of the courts in the eyes of the common man. This is what you have to remember. And we say legal profession, and we call ourselves professionals. My sincere appeal to all of you is to read a book. The title of the book is The Professional. Okay. The Professional by Subrato Bagchi. Subrato, Subrato Bagchi. Bagchi. I'm sorry because English is a foreign language. I'm telling you the spelling also. Okay. And Subrato Bagchi, in his book Professional, says, we commit the fundamental mistake of calling doctors, lawyers, and engineers professionals. And even parents, when their children get seats in medical college, engineering college, or law schools, they celebrate it, saying that our children got seats in professional courses. But Subrato Bagchi says, doctors, engineers, lawyers are not professionals. They are only professionally qualified people. And there's a lot of difference between the professionally qualified person and the professional, he said. He asked the question, who is a professional? Beautifully he answers, a professional is one who maintains absolute integrity. Somebody is asking me to suggest the name of the book again. The name of the book is The Professional. Professional. That's the name of the book. The Professional. Subrata Bakshi is the author. Mr. Ramareddy has already written it. He will circulate it. Okay. And feel free to send a mail to me. Okay. Because life is a constant process of interaction and learning. And therefore, please take my email ID from Ramareddy, ask any question, and let me assure you, I don't go to bed without emptying my mailbox. Okay. And therefore, The Professional by Subrata Bakshi. And he says, very interesting, without basic honesty and fundamental ethics, a person, however brilliant he is, he cannot be called a professional. Without basic honesty and fundamental ethics, a person, however brilliant he is, he cannot be called a professional. Therefore, all competent employees are not professional employees. You may be a competent one. All competent lawyers need not be professional lawyers. And therefore, he says, professionalism at the end of the day is about building a legacy. You must leave your footprints on the sands of time. And you must be remembered for the right reasons by the posterity, isn't it? And you must add integrity to whatever you do. Whatever you do, you must add integrity. And that's a wonderful definition of integrity given by Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi's books on lawyers, again, one must read it, starting with My Experiments with Truth. Okay. And Mahatma Gandhi says, integrity is doing the right thing when nobody is watching. See, when Mr. Ramareddy is watching me, if I maintain integrity, it means I'm afraid of him. So, when there is no shadow of Mr. Ramareddy, also if I maintain integrity. And then Gandhi says, what is integrity? Integrity is maintaining the coherence between or among three things. What is that? Between what you think, what you say, and what you do. Three things. Between what you think, what you say, and what you do. There must be coherence. And integrity is maintained, remember, doing the right thing when nobody is watching. And please remember, Subrata Bakshi in his book, The Professional, says, all these professionally qualified doctors, lawyers, engineers would become professionals only when they maintain integrity. And in that book, at that time, Subrata Bakshi was in Bangalore. The book was published in 2009. He says, from Bangalore, yeah, wonderful, that he also already got it from Google, Mr. Raju. Okay. So, therefore, he says, who is the greatest professional in Bangalore? Who are there in Bangalore? Narayana Murthy of Infosys. Most of you must be knowing. Asif Premji of Wipro. Okay. Dr. Devi Shetty of great heart specialist. Okay. And Rahul Dravid, one of the best cricketers that he produced. And Subrata Bakshi asks, who is the greatest professional among them? And he says, none of them is a professional according to me, he says. And in that book, if you read, you will be surprised. According to me, that means according to Subrata Bakshi, he says, the greatest professional in Bangalore was an auto driver. He identifies an auto driver. Why? This auto driver, for 20 continuous years, follow me very carefully, what he has been doing was, he was plying his auto for commercial reasons, like anyone of that, and he was making his livelihood. From morning 6 o'clock till 12:30, he used to ply his auto. Okay. And then he never used to go home. he used to take the tiffin box given to him by his wife, have that tiffin or working lunch in the auto itself, and then in the afternoons, he used to go to mortuaries in government hospitals. Mortuary, most of you know, is a place where dead bodies are kept. And there'll be poor people waiting in the queue to carry the dead bodies because they don't have money. They'll be waiting for the government vehicle, and there'll be a few government vehicles. And this man found that these poor people were not able to take the dead bodies. Therefore, he made it a mission of his life to carry 2 dead bodies every day after lunch from 12:30 till 6 o'clock in the evening, free of cost. See, an auto driver, free of cost, used to carry the dead bodies. Okay, that reminds us about pro bono lawyering. Okay, public interest lawyering, you would like to call it. He used to do it free of cost. And for how many years he did it? For 20 years he did. And he says, Subrata Bakshi, for this auto driver, there were no Sundays. Because the auto driver believed that the sun rises even on Sundays. He writes in that book how beautiful he writes. An advocate should remember that the sun rises even on Sundays. Okay. And for that auto driver, all holidays were holy days, he says, because the spelling was the same. HOLIDAYS. Therefore, even for advocates, all holy days and holidays should be the same. That means 24 into 7 into 365. Okay. And therefore, he says he is the greatest professional. And that is the quality that we want in young advocate friends. Okay. When we say you need to maintain ethical standards. Now, I would like to share with you 3 of my personal experiences to impress upon you as to how important are ethics in one's life. From legal profession to broad spectrum I'm going. And the first one is a speech made by former Chief Justice of India, Justice Ranganatha Mishra. You must have heard his name. He was the uncle of Justice Deepak Mishra, who was the Chief Justice of India, who retired about 3 years ago. Ranganatha Mishra was Chief Justice of India earlier. And we invited him to Andhra University to deliver a lecture on the same topic, the importance of ethics in legal profession. I still remember my young friends that it was a Sunday morning and Honorable Chief Justice of India came. I was working as the associate professor then. We were on the reception committee. And he said, my apologies to you. You please shift the meeting to 11:30 in the morning because we arranged the meeting at 10:30. Why? Because those days, the Ramayana serial was telecast. And Ranganatha Mishra said, I'm a fan of Ramayana TV serial. I would like to watch the episode and then come back. And then, you know, Chief Justice of India requesting us to arrange a TV for him. Immediately we had the protocol people, district judge, all people, and we ran and we arranged a TV for him. And he went and saw the episode and he came back. And the first sentence he said, my apologies to you, ladies and gentlemen, for preventing you from watching Ramayana TV serial today because you are all busy making arrangements for today's program. Therefore, before starting to speak on the topic, the importance of ethics, is to tell you what has happened today in Ramayana TV, he said. But you know, Mr. Ramireddy, he has beautifully juxtaposed. He said, what happened today in the TV episode was Sita Mata was tempted by golden deer, and Tulsidas in his book says, where temptation is there, Rama will not be there, even if he happens to be a spouse. Therefore, Sita Mata needs to be punished. Of course, ultimately for serving the purpose of Ramayana, it needs to happen. And therefore, the tempting golden deer, remember, she crosses the Lakshman Rekha and she was abducted by Ravana, and that was shown on today's TV. And the beauty of it, he said, is when Sita was abducted, Rama comes back and finds, like an ordinary mortal, that his spouse had been abducted. And he starts shouting, Sita, Sita, he said. And then he suddenly finds an ornament on the floor and calls his brother Lakshman, an extraordinary character in Ramayana. There are two characters in Ramayana which are epitomes of sacrifice, Lakshman and his mother. They have sacrificed everything, okay? But therefore, he calls his brother Lakshman and says, my dear younger brother Lakshman, is it the gold ornament that your sister-in-law used to wear? Lakshman, without lifting his head, looks at it and tells, my dear elder brother, I do not know. And that was the only occasion in Ramayana when Rama loses temper. Tulsidas beautifully describes it. Then Rama starts shouting at Lakshman, what Lakshman, you have been cohabiting with us virtually. And you say today that you do not know whether that instrument was worn by Sita Mata? Or are you happy that I am also separated from my wife because you were separated from your wife long ago? See, this is how Rama bursts out. Then Lakshman, for a minute, thinks, what has happened to the divine figure Rama? But even then, without murmuring, without lifting his head, he says, my dear elder brother, this is very important, my dear friends. Please follow this sentence. Sita Mata is my elder sister-in-law. And my culture, follow the use of the word culture. My culture taught me that when a woman is your mother, you are not supposed to look at the entire frame of her body after a particular age, even if you happen to be her child. Therefore, I have never seen at the whole frame of Sita Mata. Therefore, how can I say that? Ram embraces Lakshman, and suddenly Ranganatha Mishra stopped it. And he said, gentlemen, you wanted me to tell me something about ethics. Now I'll tell you, ethics is that which enables you to know where to look at and where not to look at, what to look at and what not to look at. In fact, the meaning of education is that, he said, education is that enables you to know where to look at and where not to look at, what to look at and what not to look at. And that's the meaning of ethics, he said. And if you understand this, you have understood the importance of ethics. And that was an eye-opener to us. So ethics means not 7 lamps of advocacy alone, not higher and higher ethics book alone. What is your entitlement? Okay, where to look at, where not to look at, what to look at, what not to look at. The second experience I'll share with you is equally illustrious, by that extraordinary lady called Mother Teresa, who once again came to Andhra University to address us. Okay, and the Andhra University, if you have seen it, we have a big convocation theater. And there were more than 3,000 students, faculty waiting for her. I was at the reception gate. I went and welcomed Mother and said, Mother, you're most welcome. Then she touched my hand and she asked me, son, what are you? I said, Mother, I'm a teacher. Then she asked me, what do you teach? I said, I teach law. She said, God bless you. Went few steps forward, again came back and asked me, son, what did you say? What do you teach? I thought that because she was an old lady, she did not hear properly. I said, Mother, I teach law. You know what she said? Also teach ethics, she said. When I said I teach law, she said, also teach ethics. In fact, at that time, I have been teaching professional ethics to my students for 5 years. And I said, obliged, Mother, I will teach. Then she asked me a very important question. Do you know the meaning of ethics? See, I was 31 years younger old, as you may say it. Okay. And I was supposed to be one of the good teachers. And I've been teaching ethics for 5 years. And now comes mother and asks me a question, do you know the meaning of ethics? So the egoist in me wanted to tell, yes, I know the meaning of ethics. This is the meaning of ethics. But I was reminded of what my biological mother told me. You know what she said? My mother, biological mother, whenever an elderly person asks you something, don't jump and give an answer, but tell her or him, please enlighten me. And therefore, curbing all my curiosity, suppressing my ego, I said, Mother, enlighten me. Please tell me the meaning of ethics. I thought she would be quoting from the Bible or Nicomachean Ethics, but then she said, by ethics, I mean just 4 words I'll dictate to you. You can also note it down. Okay. Please make it a constant companion in your life, she said. And you know how beautifully she had defined ethics? She said, by ethics, I mean 4 words. Show concern for others. SHOW, show concern, CONCER, concern for others, OTHERS. Show concern for others. I noted it down. She went back and she delivered a masterly lecture for 40 minutes. One important sentence from her lecture, I remember still, I share it with you because that's a part of ethics also. In the lecture, she said, all of us go to temples, all of us go to churches, all of us go to holy places. But we forget a simple truth. What is that, she said? How can you love God whom you cannot see when you cannot love human beings whom you see? How beautifully she put it. How can you love God whom you cannot see when you cannot love human beings whom you see? And mother finished the lecture, she went back. I went to my chamber and looked at the 4 words. Show concern for others. What did mother mean by that? I found the first sentence. You young fellow, like any young person in the world, you must be thinking that the world starts with you and ends with you. Most of us think like that. The queue starts with us and ends with us. Even when we go to Lord Venkateswara Darshan, we are not bothered about the people behind us. We want to jump and go, okay? And therefore, we think that we are the first to be born and the last to die. Therefore, mother said, please remember, beside you, there is somebody else in the world. And when you recognize that beside you, there is somebody else, you must show concern. How? By giving him adequate space. By giving him just space. And sometimes people say, giving adequate and just spaces is what you mean by human rights. Nothing more than that. And therefore, my mother said, show concern for others. That left an indelible impression on my mind. This is the second experience. The first one was Chief Justice of India, Ranganathan Mishra, exhortation that education is that enables you to know what to look at and what not to look at, where to look at and where not to look at. Mother Teresa saying, how can you love God whom you cannot see when you cannot love human beings whom you see? And asking me, show concern for others. The third experience is Dalai Lama. Dalai Lama came to Andhra University. And only one sentence he said, speaking about passion and compassion. And he said, you have to maintain the highest judgments of value neutrality, highest of ethics by following 2 things, he said. What is that? Passion for what you do. But it should not stop there. Compassion for whom you do, he said. Passion for what you do and compassion for whom you do. This is what you mean by ethics, he said. You be passionate in your work, okay? but at the same time, be compassionate towards them. And beautifully he said, God has given us number of organs. And only in 2 organs, God did not give bones, he said. One is the tongue, and the second one is the heart. Why? Because he wants you to speak always in a soft way. See, in fact, one of the best definitions of accountability is display of modesty and absence of arrogance is accountability. Nothing more than that. Whatever you do, display of modesty and absence of arrogance is accountability. Therefore, God has not given us bone in the tongue because he wants us to speak always in the soft manner. God did not give bone in the heart because he wants you to be always compassionate. This is what you mean by ethics. Therefore, Ranganatha Mishraji's exhortation, Mother Teresa's wonderful appeal to your heart, Dalai Lama's focus on passion and compassion, they left an indelible impression on me. And for the benefit of the young advocates, I will just add few more sentences, especially in the days of Olympics. Everyone is bothered about Olympics, but a great incident happened in 2012 in a race in Europe. And that race took place in 2012, where there was a contest between a Kenyan and a Spanish runner. The name of the Spanish runner is Ivan Fernandez, and the Kenyan runner was Abel Mutai. Both of them were participating in the race. The Kenyan was faster, okay, and he almost finished the race, but he thought that he has completed the race and therefore he stopped running. He was followed by the Spanish Fernandez. He could have overtaken the Kenyan and completed the race, and Spanish could have been declared the winner. But he did not do it. He asked the Kenyan to move forward. When he did not understand the language, what Mr. Fernandez did was he pushed the Kenyan so that he will cross the line. And when the media people said, "What is this, Mr. Fernandez? You have missed the chance of taking the gold." You know what he said? "What would be the value of such a gold medal to me?" He said. "If I take advantage of the innocence of the Kenyan, and what would be the honor of the gold medal?" And finally he said, "What would my mother think of me? This fellow had cheated him. And therefore, goodness is about character," he said. "Goodness is about kindness, generosity, moral courage, and above all, it is about how we treat the other people. And therefore, taking a cue from that, please remember 3 important things in your life. Values are more important than valuables. Please remember that. Values are more important than valuables. And timeless values are more important than temporary valuations. Most of us give importance to temporary valuations. Timeless values are more important than temporary valuations. And never fall into the trap of choosing a convenient thing over the right thing. Always in life, there will be a choice between 2 things, a right thing and a convenient thing. And choosing a convenient thing would be very easy. But choose the right thing always, because that is what separates an ordinary person from an extraordinary person. Because even the Constitution of India in fundamental duty says we have a duty to strive towards excellence. Not only excellence in the product, but excellence in the human being also. You must not only be a lawyer, you must be an excellent lawyer, you must be an excellent human being. In fact, former Chief Justice of the United States was asked a question, "Sir, whom would you like to appoint as judges in America?" Because most of our youngsters would be appearing for judicial service officers examination. You know what he replied? When you asked me a question, whom I would like to appoint as judges, my answer would be a good human being who also knows a bit of law. That means he said focus should be on the goodness of the human being and then your subject. And therefore, give importance to values. And as young advocates, please remember about the doctrine of 3 C's. C. 1 C stands for client. The second C stands for court. The third C stands for conscience. That means when the client comes to you and asks you to take up a brief, accept the brief. Because the advocate has a duty to accept the brief, accepting for ostensible reasons, he cannot refuse it. But when there is a conflict between the interests of the client and the interests of the court, you must give importance to the interests of the court. Court is bigger than the client. But the biggest thing is your conscience. God forbid, suppose you find that there's a conflict between the court and the conscience. Give importance to conscience. So in your office, write 3 C's. Biggest C is your conscience. Okay, average C is your court, and small c is your client. And by maintaining such highest ethical standards, the glory of the legal profession will be restored. And these are some of the thoughts I wanted to share on the importance of ethics, because remember, there is a total crisis of confidence of people in the institutions which we have built. And if this crisis continues for some more time, people may be forced to take recourse to extra legal and extra constitutional measures, and there'll be anarchy. And we are responsible officers of the court. When you have got yourself enrolled as an advocate, you have a duty to stand by truth. And therefore, come what may, remember, take a pledge that whatever you do, the Constitution of India would be at the center of your heart and would be at the back of your mind. And with that pledge, I wish you all the best in the future. I express my grateful thanks to Ramireddy and office bearers of the Kakinada Bar Association for giving me this momentous opportunity to share my experiences on the importance of ethics. Thank you very much. God bless you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Small interaction section. Five
Yeah.
minutes. Sir, panel members, please raise the hand to whom to interact with the, whom to want to interact with the Venkatrao sir, please.
Ramireddy, as I have told you,
Sir.
If there are any other questions, okay, where our learned members of the profession would like to ask me, you can send a mail to me also, okay?
Okay, sir. Just.
Oh yeah, no problem, no problem. That's right.
Antarajan, sir. Sorry, sir. అందరూ మీ ఒబలైజ్ చేస్తూ వాళ్ళు.
Oh yes, no problem. You know, sometimes, as they say, when the heart is full, the lips will be silent. Okay, that's right. Okay, right. Yeah, there somebody wants my email address. Please share it with them. Okay. Only thing is, please give importance to pro bono lawyering. Okay, that means you help. Okay, because accessibility, availability, and affordability. Okay, and the docket exclusion is very dangerous. Okay, try to help people by having enlightened interest. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, right.
Thank you very much, sir. Wonderful speech.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Oh yeah. So can I take leave of you?
Please, sir.
Thank you. Right. So Mr. Gurraj asked me your email ID. Give it to him. Okay.
Yes, sir. Panelist.
Okay. Right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.